Good afternoon and welcome to the Midday News. Here's what we have in the bulletin. Policeman shot and killed in Comfort, Manchester. Opposition spokesman on health welcomes ventilator probe by Prime Minister. And later in sports, J3 to make decision on mile relay today. Thank you for joining us. I'm Shamela Pullen. Here are the details. A policeman who has been on suspension was killed in Breezy Hill, Comfort District, Manchester last night. According to reports, about 10 p.m. Tuesday, Constable Mario Thomas was among a group of men at a bar when a lone gunman entered the establishment and opened fire. It's understood that he ran, but the gunman continued to fire at him. His car was also sprayed with bullets. The constable's body was found in bushes about 8 o'clock this morning.
He's only in Manchester because he's on interdiction. He has never served in Manchester.
Where was he serving?
He's serving Kingston. He was a part of the special ops team.
The constable's mother says this is the fourth attempt on his life.
Around the road, a gunman come and hold gun ahead. Come hold gun ahead. My God. They come back and they shoot up the bar and lock down the bar. His car was not in service and I give him my car to use. And then he went to, I spoke to him in the morning. He said, Mommy, I'll soon come.
Opposition spokesman on health, Dr. Alfred Dawes, says he welcomes the move by Prime Minister Andrew Holness, who has ordered a full investigation into issues relating to ventilators in the public health sector. Speaking at a press briefing, Dr. Dawes says this is necessary for accountability.
We do need to have built-in accountability in the Ministry of Health and Wellness, and that never seemed to be forthcoming from the fuzzy maths, the fuzzy numbers that were released. So it is a start, but it should not be as a result of a crisis that we're asking how many ICU spaces, how many HDU spaces we have in the country. It should be something that we can just pick up a document and know immediately how many are functional. And that speaks to the state of accountability and support for the various hospitals in the public health system.
Dr. Dawes further contends that international partners who make donations to the country need to know that they are getting value for money.
Program where the sites that should have had high dependency units should have been built out. The different hospitals, Bustamante, KPH, Victoria, Jubilee. This is more than just counting a ventilator. This is counting an HDU bed, which is a ventilator, proper monitoring, proper staffing to have a functioning high dependency unit so that when someone comes in needing high dependency care, that is able to be administered at that facility.
In the meantime, Health Minister Dr. Christopher Tufton is seeking to further clarify statements he made about the ventilators. Karen Simpson has the details.
Health Minister Dr. Christopher Tufton says comments made on the incident at the Maypen Hospital where a woman lost her baby was not intended to come across as insensitive. He is accusing the opposition spokesman on health, Dr. Alfred Dawes, of misleading the public on the issue and that the accusations that ventilators have gone missing.
I think the issues have to be separated. In the first instance, the opposition made a very wild allegation that somehow ventilators that were put into the system for COVID, some donated, some by the government, that somehow disappeared. And I think it's important and was important to correct that mischief and to indicate that ventilators remain in the system. Some of them may be down and are being repaired, but for the most part are being utilized for the benefit of thousands of Jamaicans who need that support on a daily basis.
He further explains that he received a report on the matter with the mother and baby. However, some details in the report cannot be disclosed.
Without breaching patient confidentiality, I can say, and I did say in the public space, that the child was premature, had a number of complications. The team administered medication and manual ventilation in an attempt to preserve the child while they waited for an ICU bed, which was requested at Bustamante Hospital for Children. And that took place over a day or two. And of course, their efforts, unfortunately, did not preserve the child, and the child passed.
The health minister says his team has provided counseling for the mother.
The argument as to whether or not a ventilator could have made a difference is debatable based on the clinical perspective. And I've spoken to the senior medical officer. The truth is that manual ventilation is administered on a regular basis in the public health system, and it works. But if there are added complications, then things can go either way. Unfortunately, sadly in this case, it was for the worse. That's a separate issue, however, from the claim that the opposition has made that somehow ventilators have gone missing.
Kerry-Ann Simpson, TVJ News.
Foreign Affairs Minister Kamina Johnson-Smith has lauded Tuesday's executive action by United States President Joe Biden to give legal protection to the spouses and children of undocumented immigrants. Speaking at Wednesday's post-cabinet press briefing in St. James, she explained that many Jamaicans could benefit from the initiative. Kalisha Williams reports.
So the curtains will close on the 10th biennial Jamaica Diaspora Conference at the Montego Bay Convention Center in St. James today. And for the first time, the post-cabinet press briefing was brought to the conference. And I used the opportunity to ask Foreign Affairs Minister Kamina Johnson-Smith for a response to the U.S. President Joe Biden's executive order on Tuesday, which could offer or allow certain undocumented spouses and children of U.S. citizens to apply for lawful permanent residency without leaving the country. Now, CNN had described the move as a sweeping election year offer, which could offer deportation protection for hundreds of thousands of people. And under the current law, a person who enters the U.S. illegally and marries a U.S. citizen would first have to leave the country before applying for permanent residency. But with Biden's new proposal now, all of that could change. And according to Mrs. Johnson-Smith, the proposal is a good move, which could protect many Jamaicans in the United States.
This decision that has been taken, we know it will positively impact families. We know it will positively impact Jamaican families. I don't have numbers for the persons. This is a very recent development, but we do know that people are being encouraged, and we encourage Jamaicans who may be listening overseas to get guidance from attorneys as to your eligibility before you engage the process, so that you ensure that when you do, there's a positive result.
I will have more on that story in primetime news this evening, as well as an overview of day 3 of the conference. Reporting from the Montego Bay Convention Center, I'm Kalisha Williams for TVJ News.
The 2024 hurricane season is gaining momentum as the first tropical storm is expected to form today. Local forecasters are warning Jamaicans to be prepared. Principal Director of the Met Services of Jamaica, Evan Thompson, was on TVJ's Smile Jamaica Wednesday. The 2024 hurricane season is forecasted to be one of the most active on record, with 25 named storms and 12 hurricanes predicted. Principal Director of the Met Service, Evan Thompson, says this season has been even more active in the past 15 to 20 years. However, Jamaica escaped most of the tropical storms last year, with only one system moving close to the island.
Sometimes there are particular patterns, certain steering currents that would end up moving them certain ways. There's the feeling that like Blue Mountains may contribute, things like that, but at the scale of a major hurricane, it's not likely that a mountain range is going to prevent it from moving in a particular direction. Yeah. So it's really a change in some of the steering patterns. This is talking about now where the high pressures and low pressure areas are located.
With 18 days into the season, systems have started to develop.
Well, there are a couple of systems. Actually, there is one that's in the Gulf of Mexico now. It's not expected to be too intense. It should be a storm moving into maybe Texas. Otherwise, nothing right now. But remember, the forecast is that we could have anywhere between 17 and 25 storms this year, where the average is only 14. Yeah. So be prepared for anything. And one thing is, only prepare for one major hurricane. If you don't prepare for 25 systems, prepare for one major hurricane. If that happens, God forbid, but if it happens, after you move past that, prepare for one more, because you could get a second. But just pay attention to one.
The Met Service is urging the public to remain vigilant and take necessary precautions to ensure their safety during the hurricane season, which runs from June 1 to November 30. It's time for a break. Stay with us. More stories when we return. Welcome back to the Midday News. The Bogwalk Gorge is currently impassable. This is due to an accident involving a large truck. Motorists are advised to use alternative routes until further notice from the police. It's now time for the Business Minute.
Digital and creative company iCreate resumed trading today after being suspended for 5 months. The Jamaica Stock Exchange JSE says it has lifted the suspension of trading in ordinary shares of iCreate. In January, the company was cited by the Regulatory and Market Oversight Division of the Jamaica Stock Exchange. Managing Director of the Jamaica Stock Exchange, Dr. Marlene Street Forrest, revealed that iCreate is now in compliance with the rules of the JSE and there is no reason for the shares to remain suspended. Dr. Street Forrest says the JSE is happy to have iCreate compliant again. Further afield, NVIDIA is now the most valuable publicly traded company in the US. The microchip maker is Wall Street's artificial intelligence poster child. Its market capitalization rose to more than $3.3 trillion Tuesday, edging past Microsoft's value. Apple is the third most valuable company in the US. NVIDIA has been on a tear for the last year and a half. Its chips are unmatched in producing processors that power artificial intelligence systems, including for generative AI. The chipmaker's stock is up about 175% for the year. And that's it for the Business Minute. I'm Carrie Simpson.
And here's a preview of what's coming up in this evening's health report. In this evening's health report, we look at brain tumors.
Yes, we are uncomfortable with the amount of what we call intraaxial intrinsic gliomas, or cancers of the brain that we're seeing. And as I said earlier, we're uncomfortable with a number of metastases secondary to the brain that we're seeing. And you know, we don't know all the factors, but as you know, we have also, as I said, in our system of care, gone to ensure that we speak to the public about prevention and ensuring that they are doing what you and I call that healthy lifestyle in terms of dieting and exercise and controlling all of the factors that you can to decrease the incidence of these tumors.
That's the health report in Primetime News at 7. And now for today's health living tip. Avoid exposure to chemicals, limit radiation exposure, limit cell phone use, get regular checkups, and manage your stress. Time now for the top regional and international stories.
In the region, Barbados Ambassador David Commission expressed to CARICOM the need for a comprehensive international development plan for Haiti amid its challenges of civil unrest, political instability and economic difficulties. He highlighted CARICOM's role in advocating for and implementing such a plan, suggesting the expansion of CARICOM's Eminent Persons Group to ensure sustained engagement with Haiti. On the international scene, South Africa's Cyril Ramaphosa has been sworn in for a second full term in office as president, despite failing to secure a majority in parliament in last month's election for his African National Congress, ANC. He was re-elected last week following a deal between the ANC, its longtime rival Democratic Alliance DA, and other parties to form a coalition government. The ANC, which has governed South Africa since the end of apartheid in 1994, lost its majority for the first time after the May 29 election produced no outright winner. And India's northeastern state of Assam is facing devastating floods and landslides, causing 31 deaths and affecting over 160,000 people. Meanwhile, Delhi is experiencing extreme heat with temperatures nearing 50 degrees Celsius and record electricity demand due to widespread use of cooling systems amid scorching conditions. And those were the top regional and international stories. I'm Nakinski Robinson.
We head to a quick break. When we come back, we'll have your midday sports report with Jordan Ford.